So one real quick change. Originally, in between, I just made a change in my head in between this part and the last part about the map collidable. Instead of making player CC implement map collidable publicly, I'm going to make it implement it privately so that nobody else knows it's a map collidable, because this update X and this update Y that are part of the map collidable really don't need to be seen by anyone but the person or but the object that implements map collidable. So we're going to make those private. So in doing so, I made these I'm actually not totally sure why I did this, but I made these onCollision and onDelta protected, so I'm going to change these to private. And this is like a completely easy change to make. I'll just put them right below update X and update Y. And we should still see that everything's working the same. I'm just going to build it. I'm not even going to run it. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to implement our map collidable object. So we'll go to MapCollidable.h and player.h. Let's copy all of these, not update X and update Y, just onCollision and onDelta, because these need to be pure inside of our map collidable. We don't need to scope these in. These should be virtual. I guess I'll make a virtual destructor just in case we decide we want to inherit from this. We shouldn't need to because it'll just be private inheritance. So virtual map collidable. And just implement it right there. I'm going to close up some of these. So next we'll want to do our update X and update Y. I'll copy these over now. These are not going to be virtual because only map collidable is going to implement them. But we're going to need to take in a couple of other things like kinematics. So let's forward declare kinematics. Let's forward declare map too. And let's include units. So we're going to want to include, for update X, we'll want to change kinematics X. So kinematics reference to kinematics X. And then a const reference to kinematics Y, because we aren't changing the kinematics Y. And this is another reason I decided to do kinematics instead of the two-part position, two-part velocity. And that's because we want to be able to change the X without having to worry about our Y being changed. That's just something to think about. So update Y is going to do the same thing except with the opposite consting. So const kinematics X and non-const kinematics Y. Let's see, anything else? I think there's one more thing, and that is the collision rectangle. So we will forward declare collision rectangle too. We'll want to take in a collision rectangle, so const collision rectangle or collision rectangle for both X and Y. So let's create a MapCollidable.cc to implement these two methods. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to rip out our player update y after we've updated the velocity. So we update the velocity right here. So right from here down is where we're going to rip out all the way to the end. We'll go to MapCollidable.cc, paste it in. We'll fix it up in a second once we've ripped out the x. So here's the x, starting with where we calculate delta all the way to the end, and put that up in x. So anytime we see kinematics x, we'll have to replace this with kinematics x without the underscore, because it's no longer a private data. And we'll do the same thing with kinematics y. If we can find a kinematics y. Here we go, kinematics y. We'll do the same thing, except with kinematics y without the underscore. Oh, we'll need to include some stuff so that our MapCollidable knows what's going on. So kinematics.h, we'll need CollisionRectangle.h, and maybe map.h. Anything else? Oh yeah, so we also don't know what this collision info thing is, and that's also in player.cc up in the anonymous namespace. Yeah, here it is, collision info. So we'll just rip this out and put it in an anonymous namespace in MapCollidable.cc. So let's see, namespace. Okay, so now the next thing we need to change is this K collision rectangle needs to become collision rectangle. Is there anything else? Any more red markers? I don't see any more red markers, so we should be able to build. It's not going to be right, but until we implement player.h implements MapCollidable. So let's do that next. Let's have it do a quick private inheritance. And again, private inheritance is like saying, public inheritance is saying like a player is a damageable and can be treated as a damageable, but private inheritance is like saying I'm just implemented in terms of, so nobody else should really know how I'm implemented. It's just yeah, I guess implemented in terms of, that's the best way I can say it succinctly. So private MapCollidable. And again, we're already implementing onCollision and onDelta, so that's all taken care of. So we should be able to build again and see it working. Of course, we need to remember to call our update x and our update y inside of player.cc. So let's go down to update x. And right here at the end, after everything is, all the velocity is updated, we will call our MapCollidable update x with our collision rectangle, which is going to be K collision rectangle. Down here, kinematics x, kinematics y, elapsed time, and our map. So that takes care of update x. Let's take care of update y. And that's the exact same call except update y instead of update x. And we should be able to build and run this, and it should look just the same as we had about an hour ago. So let's see. Yeah, everything looks the same. So what's the difference? Why the heck did we do this? Well, now all of our update code is in this MapCollidable object, And any object we want to implement MapCollidable.h, and all we have to do is fill in these onCollision and onDelta methods, and suddenly we have all of the power that we had in our player class available to every single object. And this really makes things a lot easier. You're going to see that this is going to make things go a lot quicker. Instead of having to implement this update X and update Y for every single time we want to make a collision, a collidable object, you'll see that, we're just going to be doing the same old update X, update Y, and it's going to be the same stuff over and over again. And you're going to say, man, why can't we just abstract this out? Well, guess what? We just abstracted it, so we don't need to abstract it out in the future. So this is going to be awesome. Things are going to move more quickly, I think. Now that we have this, we can create our more abstract... Yeah, abstractions are awesome when you need them, and they're kind of lame when you don't. But yeah, that's it for this episode. It's kind of an intense refactoring. Feel free to check out the GitHub. My GitHub repo, so you can see like a diff. I'm only going to do it for the whole episode, not for each individual part. But yeah, that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching, guys, and happy developing.